energy insecurity. These pressures affect communities everywhere, from coastal towns to major cities, and their impacts do not respect borders. We have faced more frequent floods, rising sea levels, and extreme heat. These are not distant threats, they are realities that demand action. That is why it is encouraging to see Wales stepping forward as one of the most significant centres of renewable resources in all of Europe. Floating offshore wind in the Celtic Sea, tidal stream energy in the Irish Sea, a hydrogen hub in the north, and solar power in Pembrokeshire. Together, these projects are positioning Wales as one of the world's most promising clean energy hubs. 2 years ago, I saw for myself the impact that Welsh University research is having in the field of hydrogen during a trip to Singapore for the Earthshot Prize. These projects are not only reducing our carbon footprint and protecting the environment, but also creating new opportunities for investment, job creation, and long-term prosperity. But Wales's ambitions don't end with renewable energy. Wales is home to the world's first compound semiconductor cluster here in Newport, powering advances in AI, telecommunications, autonomous electric vehicles, and next-generation computing. Technologies designed and built in Wales are already embedded in the smartphones in your pockets, as well as sensors, autonomous systems, and high-speed networks used across the globe, a testament to the Welsh capacity to compete and lead on the world stage. This morning, I had the opportunity to visit the KLA facility not far from here. There, I saw firsthand some of the groundbreaking work being delivered by this remarkable semiconductor cluster. What struck me most during that visit was not only the sophistication of the technology, but the sense of pride and purpose in the people building it. Because that is what, I believe, sets Wales apart. Not simply what is made, but how it is made. One of Wales's greatest strengths is the way industry, academia, and government work together, not in isolation, but as part of a single, connected community. It is collaboration at its very best, practical, purposeful, and grounded in trust. And that collaboration extends to the world. More than 300 delegates from 25 countries have come here today. That alone speaks to the growing global interest in what Wales can offer. Wales is a place where cutting-edge technology, research, innovation, and a skilled workforce come together in a single, coherent ecosystem across many different industries. I saw this again firsthand when I spoke with businesses at the showcase a few moments ago. Their optimism about future investment opportunities here in Wales is clear. Today, we begin the next chapter on the Welsh investment journey, and it is my honour to play my part in championing the dynamic nation Wales is today as we look to the future. Thank you once again for being here in beautiful Wales, for your commitment to partnership, and for your belief in what can be achieved together. Diolch. Thank you.
Well, he's quite the ambassador, isn't he, for Wales? Please join me in thanking once again His Royal Highness for being with us and sharing his reflections on what makes Wales special. He'll hear you. Okay, we're moving on to our second panel session, and this one is focused on Wales as a place for innovation, talent, and opportunity. We've heard about that all morning and again in what the Prince was saying. But we have LaShawn Lindsay here, who was previously Managing Director at GE Aviation Wales, currently one of the Welsh Government envoys to the United States. She is a global business leader, an LGBTQ+ advocate, pioneering advances in diversity, inclusion, and equality. LaShawn is going to introduce the other panel members as part of the session, so it's over to you now. LaShawn.
Perfect. It was very nice of the Prince of Wales to introduce our session, so this is a great starting act there for us. But like Sean said, I'm Sean Lindsay, and I know you're confused by my Welsh accent as to how I ended up being the moderator for this panel, but I did, like Sean said, I led GE Aviation, at the time the largest industrial company in Wales at $3 billion per year, so I lived here for 3 years. And now I'm one of the Welsh envoys that works very hard in the U.S. to get inward investment into Wales. So our panel today, it's going to be a simple question that hopefully, based on collective experiences, you'll all walk away from, and that is, why Wales, right? So we want to make sure we leave you inspired to understand why your company should be investing in Wales. So I will turn it over to my fellow panelists, Rob, Bobby, and Jane, who will give introductions of themselves. Rob, you want to start?
Yeah, hi, I'm Rob Wilson, Managing Director of Sony UK Tech Limited. I'm quite a newbie, I've only been there 36 years. Before that, I was an apprentice tool maker, so actually making things, and then made the decision that I'd like to design things instead. I took the opportunity to move to Sony in 1989. And I was designing TVs, the big, heavy Trinitron TVs. That's my fault, for those who remember that. And then in 2000, I moved into the manufacturing operation with a view to how do we keep a factory in the UK sustainable and at the front of manufacturing. And in 2005, I took on production, supply chain, if you look at it, and then 3 years ago became the managing director.
Perfect. And Jane?
I'm Jane Chancellor. I'm the CEO and a co-founder, along with Julie Gardner in Los Angeles and Natasha Hale here in Wales, of Bad Wolf. Bad Wolf is an independent television production company HQ'd in Wolf Studios in Wales that we built to make some of our high-end television productions in. We have made shows such as His Dark Materials, Discovery of Witches, Doctor Who there. And because I can't resist it, we also made The War Between the Land and the Sea there, which you can start watching on BBC One and BBC iPlayer on December the 7th. We made Red Eye, which you can start watching on ITV and ITVX on January the 1st. And we made Industry, which in the UK you can start watching on BBC One and BBC iPlayer on January the 12th. And in early March, you can start watching The Other Bennett Sister on BBC One and BBC iPlayer. So we have been busy. Our mission is to produce locally here in Wales for global audiences around the world. And it's the global reach of, that we try to achieve with Bad Wolf, which normally makes the television what they call high-end. High-end doesn't mean it's better than any other form in television. That's a kind of budget definer. And along with Bad Wolf, we also started Screen Alliance Wales, which is the philanthropic arm of Bad Wolf, and which we sponsor along now with various other people. We have a classroom in Wolf Studios where we start indoctrinating children from a very early age that jobs in the television industry are really good jobs to have. And we also have trainees and apprenticeships and university students there as well.
Bobby?
I am Bobby Bell with KLA, EVP and head of our government engagement, and also the head of KLA in Europe. I've learned now, Jane, that I have many, many things to watch and queue up to see in the near future.
Thank you.
So KLA was mentioned just a bit earlier. We're a semiconductor equipment company founded in 1976. Rob, I've only been there 31 years of that 50-year period. We make semiconductor equipment, which helps our customers make the advanced semiconductor chips and chip assemblies and packages that go into all the things that you're holding, seeing, including the new data centers and things that are going up for advanced AI applications. So it's in the heart of what we do. And I'll explain more about what we're doing here in Wales coming up soon.
Perfect. So as you can see, three great business leaders, diversity from their backgrounds. So we felt like this would be a great opportunity, to hear from experienced business leaders who are actually located here in Wales to talk about why they invested here in Wales. So I'll start off first saying, what were some of the specific factors and drivers that led your company to invest here in Wales? And what were some of the things that you found here that you didn't see elsewhere that attracted you here? Rob, you want to start again?
Yeah, I think you heard the original story from the Prince of Wales, so I won't repeat that too much. And that really did happen, exactly what he said, in 1970 at Expo in Osaka. There was a discussion about that. And Sir Terry mentioned last night about timing. And you talk about timing, the Prince of Wales met Accio Marita at that event. And Accio Marita has a strong philosophy of global localization, about adapting and marketing, producing your products as close as you can to your customers. And he was explaining this to Prince Charles as he was then. And Prince Charles said, well, why not the UK? And certainly why not Wales? And allegedly, I have it on very good source, that over dinner, Marita-san made the decision. 2 years later, the first spade was in the ground. So it really was based on that. And King Charles visited us last year for a 50 years celebration and reminded me that it was his factory, not mine. So I was, who am I to argue with that? But also, Sony very much with global localization becomes the development of the local talent. I think straight away that Sony could see that the passion, the pride, the work ethic that is in Wales, the curiosity and innovation. I think that led to what happened next, which was an expansion of the facility in Bridgend in '92, which made us build the Pencoed operation, which we run now. And then, the diversity and basically always looking for new opportunities, which led us to diversify in our business in '99, and certainly again in 2006, where we started producing non-Sony manufactured products as well. And then also looking at providing solutions for customers, not just boxes. You can't just sell boxes, maybe so much these days, but finding out what the pinch points are for customers and trying to solve those solutions as well as selling the box.
Right. I read that story about King Charles at the time, right? Prince of Wales. And I just think that that's just fantastic. I mean, who can top that? Why Wales? Well, there was this discussion that happened with the Prince of Wales, and here we are. And I just think that's awesome. And so same for you, Jane. What were some of the factors that led to your company investing here in Wales?
It wasn't quite that high level. But I think mine was, it was a relationship with Wales that went all the way back to the early part of this century. And I think I look at the different parts of my life and the different reasons, and I think it's a combination of, which I'll explain, but a combination of need, romantic idealism, relationships, and strategic proposition. So the need was when I was controller of drama commissioning at the BBC in the early noughts, and there are two things happened roughly at the same time. The first was something I had long wanted to do as soon as I had the opportunity to, which was to bring Doctor Who back to our screens. And I turned immediately to Russell T Davies, that well-known Welshman who lives in Manchester, to do it. And I had assumed that we would film it in Manchester or Elstree, where it had been filmed before. But at the same time, I had a need as drama commissioner at the BBC to make something in Wales. And because quite properly, and I don't think there's anywhere near enough of this, every part of the United Kingdom needs to be utilised for filming in and for television crews and television audiences. And I looked at Russell, and I just appointed Julie Gardner as head of drama for Wales, and they knew each other, and I thought, why can't we make Doctor Who in Wales? And that really, and the reason was, there was no reason why we couldn't. If you've got the drive and you've got the commitment, and you have the passion from the people and the crews here, there would be no reason why we couldn't. And so we just did. And that really started my whole relationship with Wales. The romantic idealism came in my next job, which was in Los Angeles, I lived and worked in Los Angeles for just over 8 years. And while I was living in Los Angeles, I mainly filmed in New York. And I filmed there such a lot, and I became very close to some of the crew members. I had worked with the late, great James Gandolfini, who became a very good friend of mine, and subsequently his friends became friends of mine as well. And his friends were all of these amazing teamsters, prop masters, every part of the New York crews. You couldn't walk down a street without him knowing everyone who he'd worked with. And while I was filming there, I began to think of, these people in New York, these crew in New York remind me of the crews in Wales, with their passion, with their commitment, with their creativity. And the fact that I began to realize that these crew jobs in New York were intergenerational. Well, this is ever such a long answer. I'll try and speed up. I told you it was romantic. My grandparents, one was a coal miner, the other was a weaver. Those jobs were intergenerational. Those jobs do not exist anymore. I would not have been a very good coal miner or a weaver, so thank God for that. But jobs ought to be. Why couldn't jobs like the ones we have in our television industries, why can't they be intergenerational? Why can't we build a creative industries here in Wales which is as strongly rooted as the creative industries in New York? And that's what I set out to do. The relationship part of it is the relationship with the Welsh Government and the creative industries, who were extraordinary and have really stayed with us through the highs and lows of every part of our journey. And it would not have been the same without them at all. And I'm hugely grateful. And if there's anyone here looking to set up a company or work with the creative industry in Wales, go and see Creative Wales immediately. And the third is the strategic proposition. When all of the television companies are all crowded around London, I always like to go in the opposite direction of where the main traffic is. And so our strategic proposition was to work outside of London. And that's what we've done, and I'm sorry that was a bit lengthy.
Oh, that's great. That's fine. And the same question for you, Bobby, with KLA.
Well, very, very different story. Prior to 2019, we had no presence in Wales at all. Small presence outside of London. We're seated, headquartered in Silicon Valley, globally operating. Most of our customers and bases in Asia. But we saw something in Wales that was very, very interesting, very attractive. This company called SPTS that originated in Wales in 1968, been operating in Newport for the last 45 years. We acquired them in 2019. And since 2019, I think I've visited here 12, 15 times, if not more, really getting ingrained into the ecosystem. I think the operation we have here now is seen globally as something very, very special in terms of the type of equipment that we're creating and delivering for our customers. And it was very, very complementary to the portfolio of products that we had prior. So we've been very, very proud of the operation, the capability of the team, and also the growth of the team over the last 5 to 6 years.
Perfect. And for the companies that are looking to potentially invest in Wales here, there's growth, there's revenue, but one of the other key factors is actually longevity and also sustainability of your company. So what would you say that are some of the factors that have led to the sustainability, of your company here in Wales, and what are some of those ones that are actually powering growth now? So we'll start with you, Jane.
So I would say the people is the thing that powers the sustainability of Bad Wolf. The embracing of us by the local community, by the production teams and creator community here in Wales. So it means that when I do kind of like come in with some kind of crazy project like His Dark Materials, yes, we can tell this epic national treasure type books with talking animals in, and I believe you can do it. I could talk to an empty room, or I could talk to a group of people who didn't listen or didn't want to do it, and I talked to a group of people who literally pick it up and put it on their back and carry it. So the people, and again, the sustainability with the help of Creative Wales and all the support that they give.
Perfect. And the same for KLA, Bobby? Sustainability, longevity?
I think it is deeply rooted in our ability to collaborate with the ecosystem that's here. And that's across all aspects, starting, with academia, with the government, other companies in the region, and also the supply chain, the local supply chain. Looking at academia, we've grown our site over the past 5 years from around 300 employees to now over 700. Partnering with universities and schools and developing programs for internships and apprenticeships, PhD programs for advanced product development and so forth, has really been instrumental in getting the talent that we needed. With the government, we just opened a new campus not far away from here. We had a very nice visitor earlier today, as he mentioned. And the ability to create that site, the partnership with the different levels of government. So from the UK government, the Welsh government, the local government with the Newport Council, the Cardiff Capital Region, has been really, really vital in terms of securing the land. We're worried about getting the power we needed to run the site, and then also through the construction process to be able to deliver, what we needed. So then supply chain. Supply chain is a key part, of our development and manufacturing process, and the local suppliers have been fantastic in just their ability to deliver and grow along with us.
Perfect. And Rob, with Sony?
Yeah, I think it's a similar story. You start with the relationship with the Welsh Government, also with the local councils and the environment around us, also with the networks that exist in each industry throughout Wales, giving you advice, support, and direction. But I think the key one is obviously the people. We went through quite a dark stage, probably in 2005, where we went from 2,000 people overnight to nearly 200. But we were lucky that we had 200 people that wanted to stay. So again, talking to an empty room, where we had 200 really switched on people. And with the apprentice programs and the graduate programs, those are the guys that are now, since that point, now running the company. So really, it's testament to you do need a really good apprentice program, a really strong graduate program, and also direct recruitment. And I think having the foresight and the vision and keeping clarity and focus on what you want to achieve, I think is also vital for those people to be able to thrive.
And now you talked about the downturn, and of course GE Aerospace went through it. Steve's out there somewhere during COVID as well. Can you talk about some of the support you received from the Welsh government when things weren't going so great?
Yeah, there was, we were starting to look, and we were creating a new strategy about what do we do next, and how do we expand, how do we actually grow. And talking to Welsh Government, it was clear to see then, what pathways were available in front of us, whether that was for creating jobs or research and development or, for capital expenditure, but also just having someone to talk to say, go in that direction or talk to those people and creating those networks. I think that was probably the key thing for us.
And I think that's important, right? To make sure that you have the support of the government when you have this great growth, but also, when your company is struggling. You can't just have, cheerleaders, and then you have boo birds, right, that are booing you on the sidelines as things are getting tough. You have to have support, throughout that process. And I can also speak to the partnership that we had with the Welsh Government. When I was here, GE9X is making its entry into the site, and it was important for us. We had a £20 investment that we needed to make in the site, and we got £5 million of that from the Welsh Government. So sustainable partnership, and similar to what you're saying with the ups and the downs. They definitely roll with the punches with it. And then so for you, Bobby, we've heard a lot about just talent, right? Talent. The apprentice program, I can attest to that as well. Bobby, can you speak to some of the competitive advantages that your employees have given you, whether that's with retention, cutting edge technology?
Sure. It's, as I mentioned before, talent is so vital, getting the critical talent, the growth that we've seen over the last number of years. Maybe begin just a bit about the things that we make. Semiconductor equipment is kind of foreign to most, becoming more familiar, but the technology inside our pieces of equipment that we make are pushing the bleeding edge of every single aspect of technology possible, from light sources. We say, we have light sources in our tools that are brighter than the sun in order to illuminate the wafer to be able to see, what's on there. The optics to be able to magnify and see the things that we need to find. The mechanics, the motion control, software, algorithms. We have artificial intelligence deeply embedded, inside our equipment. So given that, the type of talent we need is very, very advanced. And so that's kind of the root of our starting point, is just, what type of talent, do we need? And so if you look at, the criticality is developing the partnerships with academia, to be able to have access and getting students excited about, coming into these different STEM technology fields. And as I mentioned, we've been able to do it over the past, several years, and there was a big question mark going back to 2019, is could we attract the talent that we needed here? And we have more than succeeded in doing that. So it's a strong testament to the university network that's here. There's 8 universities within a 40-mile radius of our site, and I think there's producing close to 20,000 STEM students annually. And so we've also worked hard with the community and the universities to develop programs, to get young kids excited about our technologies, to get them into that pipeline. And it's working, but we need to do more. I think for the future of the area, and kind of, we talked, to our partnerships with the government, different various levels of government, we need to keep pushing hard on, making sure the pipeline is filling with the talent that's needed as all these technology transformations are happening, and the growth of the technology, that's happening here in the region.
And I think it's a similar question for you as well, Rob, with the talent, because things change so fast. They're changing so rapidly. I won't age myself, but when I went to Clemson University, the clouds were these things up in the sky, right? That showed up sometimes when it was about to rain. And then I left GE to go run Amazon Web Services, the largest data centers in the world, right? And we didn't have that, even as a major, as an option, when I was in college, so I had to learn it. And so, Rob, how do you stay up to, how do you develop your talent so that they stay up to speed on, all the changes in technology now?
I think for us, we, in 2014, we actually started our own academy. Yeah, so there's nothing wrong with academia around us, but also for that specific training that we need for the now and also for the future, we set up our own academy. And then actually just letting people go. Yeah, let them have the freedom to go, be curious, go and create, go and be innovative in a safe environment. And we've done that a lot. And what we're seeing, especially with the apprentices and the graduates, is they are really pushing us. Yeah, their way of working is different. Their thought processes are different to an old dinosaur like me. And it's really good when you talk about inclusion and diversity. There's a classic example, yeah, about giving the people the freedom to actually go and do that. And I think also the other thing that we're doing is opening our doors to schools. So in the term period, at least 3 days of the week, there's a school coming in. We make Raspberry Pi products. I don't know whether you know that as well. And the school will do a coding session in the morning, and in the afternoon they'll do a green screen shoot, so they can take that back to the school the next day. We've been doing that since 2014 as well. And some of those kids now are working with us and developing the next technology. So I think you have to invest in it yourself, but you have to give people the freedom to go and be curious and challenge things. We're seeing the benefit of that.
I agree. Harness that excitement, right? That new energy that comes into our doors every day, and not feeling threatened by, but figuring out how to harness that energy that this new talent is bringing into our companies. And then for you, James, we hear a lot about the Welsh offering, the Wales offering, whether it's the talent, the innovation, the Welsh government support, you name it. What would you say some of the elements of the Wales offering are that have really led to the growth of Bad Wolf?
So I think it's all the above. But on top of that, I think there is something about the size of Wales that just really works for what Bad Wolf does. So it's big enough for you to be able to find the studio space, the locations, for you to be able to work with some of the crews, to be able to have access to the universities, or set up to train the talent just like you do. I mean, we're repeating our stories in our very different businesses. But it's also small enough to be agile and to be nimble. And I was thinking when you were talking about COVID just now, for example, we were one of the first production companies who started filming again during COVID. And the reason we were able to do that was because we were able to put our hand out to people we knew in Cardiff Council and say, could you shut this road down for us? Could you get this building for us? Could you help us get on our feet again? And I think that it is something where it is small enough for you to be able to get to know all the people, properly get to know, and be able to reciprocate the help in whatever way, in a proper community way. As well as big enough to house all your ambitions and people that you need to work on the shows.
Perfect. I read your story about what happened during COVID and how you guys were one of the first ones to open back up because of the relationships, and you're right. You know, I think one of the themes that has happened last night and also today so far is just this partnership with the Welsh government and this relationship. And this morning when the First Minister said, you know, we'll even meet you in a pub. That's true. I can attest to that, right? Yeah. Anything that I needed, always, the availability, you know, it was just unbelievable. And, you know, I know you're confused, but I really am American. This accent throws people off. But there's so much red tape, right, to get anything done. It's just unbelievable how difficult it is in the U.S. sometimes to get things done. And for here, I just found it to just be, you know, so easy, so easy. So another part of our topic is around innovation. And so for you, Bobby, I'll ask you about, you know, new product introduction. Have there been opportunities here where you've seen that you've been able to test new products here before you took them globally, like using Wales as a test bed?
Absolutely. You know, it's been, as I mentioned, you know, it was a big question mark going back to 2019 of the capability that was here, and we've been very happy and you know, just really proud of what the team here is doing. There's many, just give an example of one, maybe just to give some context around it. One of the big explosions that everyone is talking about is artificial intelligence and the growth there, the huge data centers that are going up that require the most advanced chips and the most advanced packages and sub-assemblies that exist on Earth. The work here in Wales is right in the center of that growth. We have a system that's called plasma dicing. I would ask for a show of hands, but I know maybe I get 2 or 3 that would know what plasma dicing would be. But it's a way to separate the chips, the semiconductor chips, from the wafer that they're manufactured upon. And then those chips are then taken and assembled into the advanced packages and sub-assemblies that then go into the servers, into the data centers. So the team here, very novel, creating this technique for separating the chips from the wafers, using plasma technology to do that process at much higher performance and much higher yield, which these chips are so complicated. Yield and the cost is so vital. So it's been a huge enabler for this whole explosion, and the team here was at the epicenter of creating this capability. And as a result of it, over the last few years, they've won a number of Queen's Awards in recognition. And again, we're very proud of the work, and I think this is just one example of many programs that are innovative that are happening with the team here.
Perfect. And then, Rob, we spoke about it earlier, just about the ebbs and flow of business. Can you speak about some of the specific challenges that, Sony has had here? And how did you overcome them? And, how was the company able to adapt?
I think I mentioned the first one, and probably from 72 up to the 80s, it was quite plain sailing. And then from the 80s through to the early 90s, we saw the expansion of the Trinitron business in Europe hugely grow. We were designing European TVs for the European market, and very quickly we needed a new site. And working with the Welsh office, as it was then, the local government, that was found very, very quickly. Decisions were made very quickly and overcome. Within a 2-year period, we had a 60,000 square meter factory built and up and running. As I mentioned then, if you go the other way, I think I give you the detail around the 2005 situation, which we came through. And I think now the opportunities for us is probably still the talent. Yeah, we've got an amazing talent pool in Wales, and it's maintaining that. I think that's going to be the key for the future. How do we make sure that through the supply chain, the manufacturing processes, engineering, we've got that real supply of pure talent for the next couple of years. But I think we know we're never going to compete on pure labor cost with other areas. But saying that, if we look at the total cost and the innovation and automation that we can bring to the process, we make one Raspberry Pi product, we make 250,000 a week of those with 4 people. Yeah, previous that would have been about 50 people. So that's why we look at the total cost and how we overcome those problems of people saying, oh yeah, manufacturing cost and manufacturing's dying. It's not. It's really alive and really positive in Wales, actually. It's not just us doing that. There's lots of companies around using that innovation to overcome those particular problems.
Perfect. And we'll stay along the theme of challenges and obstacles. And Jane, as you look ahead, 5 years from now, I know you don't have a crystal ball, but if you could look at some of the challenges that Wales will face as inward investment continues, or that need to be removed so that inward investment does continue, what do you see as some of those obstacles and challenges?
Well, I think the obstacles and challenges that Badwell faces are the same that most industries face at the moment, and they sit alongside of our worldwide obstacles and challenges. Our real challenge, which is an obstacle for filming across all of TV, is being able to fund our production budgets. So after COVID, there was a massive kind of boom when everyone returned to film here again, and we are both advantaged and disadvantaged by having a lot of external productions come and film in the UK, which has a massively inflationary price on everything. And why not, if our crew and our artists and everyone and our cameras and our scenic costs are in demand. But our own UK production budgets have not risen accordingly. And we are lucky enough in the television industry to have some form of tax credit to help us. And that tax credit is a real incentive for some of these big shows, House of the Dragon, for example, HBO's Harry Potter, to come and film here. But they are not homegrown pieces. So if we want to make pieces which are not using Wales as a location for something else, but is using Wales as Wales and telling a story about the way we live now, set where we live now, it is a real challenge to be able to fund it. In independent film, there is a raised tax credit for that very difficult to fund, lower cost film. It's around 15 million. In British television, there isn't the equivalent. And I feel that the increasing demands on money everywhere else in the world, and rightly so, mean that our production budget to tell stories about the way we live now is challenged. And I think increasing that tax credit would help. And part of the reason I feel that would help is I feel really passionately that in a world where truth is often very confused and it's often really difficult for any of us to know what is fact and what is fiction, that stories are really important to us because stories are unassailable. They are stories about us and how we can live inclusively together that nobody can challenge the facts of. So I want to ensure the production budgets are there for me to be able to continue, and others like me, making those stories.
Perfect. And then just the last question for each of you would just be around, I mean, we have a diverse group of people here from different companies. What one piece of strategic advice would you give anyone that's looking to either invest in Wales, just do it, or expand your current operations that are here in Wales? You want to start, Bobby?
Sure. I think I would just go back to what has been key for us over the last 6 years operating here, and I think what seeded SBTS's success before is all around collaboration with the ecosystem. Academia to get the talent that you need, putting programs in place to get folks excited to do the things that you need to do and to have the skill set. Partnership and collaboration with the government, all aspects of the government, sharing your vision, strategy, plans, and working side by side through the implementation as issues arise. We found them to be very, very helpful. We can't get power, so how can we get power? As an example. Then there's partnership and collaboration with other companies that are in the ecosystem. The compound semiconductor cluster has come up many times. That's an example. Just getting exposure into the ecosystem, the companies, the resources, the information, working together on common issues and so forth can be very helpful. And then the supply chain, just building the supply chain around you, which helps strengthen the overall ecosystem and pulling things together and gives you the ability to grow closer together.
Perfect. And Rob, advice that you would give?
Yeah, I think it's very similar. I think the first one is to start with talking to Welsh Government and finding out what you don't know. And then the second one, as I mentioned earlier, there's a whole host of networks across so many diverse businesses that exist in Wales and tap into that resource as well. You mentioned the supply chain is critical to every business about what is out there. And sometimes the best way to find that out is to ask the companies that are already there. Whether they're the established companies or the new companies, we've probably been through and solved all the problems that you're going to face. So I think working alongside Welsh Government, find out who is in Wales and come along and talk to us. We certainly won't turn you away. Yeah? We're there for salespeople for Wales as well.
I agree, 100%. 100%. And the same for you, Jane. Advice?
I think really collaboration, asking the Welsh Government, asking the community around. I think being connected with people here, be aware of what you don't know, but you'll certainly find someone here to ask, how you sort out what you don't know. And I would say, believe that you can do it, but be very clear not only what you can take from Wales, but what your business has to offer Wales. And once you've worked out what your business can offer Wales, you will find lots of people here to help you.
That's perfect. And when we started off, I said that the purpose of our panel was to answer the question, why Wales? And I'm going to close on a personal note, but I think it's harder to say why not Wales. And so I want each of you to just think about that. Why not Wales? Why not Wales? We've answered why Wales, but let's introspectively think about why not Wales. And then just in closing, I want to thank everyone. You guys did a fantastic job. It was great to meet you all. And, I've worked in 32 different countries. I've lived and worked in 32 different countries. And, I used to fly in and out of Cardiff Airport all the time, and we were trying to help those guys grow as well, the Qatar relationship. And one day I was coming back, from Amsterdam, and I was looking out the window, and as I looked out the window, I just saw beautiful Wales. And I put my head against the window, and tears started coming down. And after having worked in 32 different countries and been everywhere in the world, I said, wow, this is home. This is home. And so I've done a lot for the Welsh government, and worked really hard. I'm very passionate about Wales. And my wish for you all, as we continue to collectively tell our story about Wales and how awesome and amazing Wales is that one day, you, your family, and especially your country, your company, will find the sense of home that I have experienced as I've been here in Wales. So thank you so much, and we really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Bobby, Jane, Rob, and LaShawn. I love that why not Wales, that feeling of making it home. And great advice, too, for those wishing to invest in Wales, to learn from the businesses already here, to engage and trust in the community, and to build strong relationships with government and with institutions. And we are delighted now to hear from the Chancellor of the Exchequer. Please give a very warm welcome to the Right Honourable Rachel Reeves, MP.
Thank you, everybody, and it's wonderful to be here with you all at the Wales Investment Summit, here in Newport, in this incredible building, in front of what I think is the biggest ever business event that Wales has ever seen. I'm sure that Wales's legendary hospitality, as the Prince of Wales already said, would have made you feel as welcome as a local. Before I left, one of my colleagues said to me that I absolutely mustn't leave Wales without trying Welsh cakes. I assured him that there was no danger of that. I absolutely love Welsh cakes. Then he said, you also mustn't give a strong opinion on the rugby. I told him there's no danger of that either. His Royal Highness, the Prince of Wales, spoke eloquently about this remarkable country, and it's a real honour for him to have joined us today. I share his passion. I love Wales. I have aunts and uncles and cousins here, in Dunvant, in Pontardawy, in Barry and in Wrexham. And I love to bring my own kids here. This is a country rich in tradition, in music, in literature, and the breathtaking landscapes, and its proud industrial heritage. A nation which once powered Britain and much of the world through its coal industry, that legacy is present wherever you go. And earlier this year, at the spending review, I was pleased to be able to provide funding to keep the coal tips safe here in Wales. Our bigger task is to make sure that that heritage remains both a source of pride, but never a retreat or a distraction from the future. To make sure that those towns and cities which once powered the last industrial revolution can play a central role in our next one. If you want an example of that future, then you need just look to Newport. Maybe in the not-too-distant past, you wouldn't expect a summit like this to take place in a town like this. But Where Better embodies the possibilities of Britain today. Once a hub of the Industrial Revolution, shipping coal and iron around the world from its docks, but a town hit hard in the 80s and 90s by deindustrialization and neglect. Today, Newport offers a glimpse of an economic future that builds on our history, but isn't captive to it. For what is possible when entrepreneurial government works hand in glove with global firms at the technological frontier. Automotive steel, galvanized and finished at the Tata plant in Llanwern, forged into parts for Jaguars, Land Rovers and Audis. Electric batteries powering satellites, space launch vehicles and defense technologies. And here in Newport, we are staking out our claim in the semiconductor market for our economic resilience and for our high-tech future. With Newport Wafer Fab, the UK's leading chip manufacturer, backed with a major £250 million investment by its owners earlier this year. And now being joined by the US chip maker, KLA, with a $100 million state-of-the-art development park just over the way at Imperial Park. Led by the Welsh Labour government and Eled Morgan, the work is well underway towards building a Wales as a forward-looking and diversified economic powerhouse, with an economy worth £93 billion a year, home to pioneering clusters in so many of the industries of the future. Economic growth is the first mission of this UK government, through our plan for stability, investment and reform. I've never believed that the best thing a government can do is simply get out of the way, especially not in this age of insecurity that we find ourselves in today. Eluned and Wales Labour get that, which is why they've invested more than £600 million in the Welsh economy to create 42,000 new jobs. And in Westminster, we are partnering with ambitious and enterprising businesses in every part of the country to raise living standards and create good jobs paying decent wages. And that starts with stability. And so at the budget last week, I secured our public finances, more than doubling our financial buffer against global volatility, the headroom. And measures I set out at the budget are bringing inflation down, projected to take down inflation by 0.4 percentage points next year, as we create the space for the Bank of England to continue cutting interest rates, which they have already done 5 times in the last 16 months. Stability is a crucial foundation for business investment, but alone it's not enough. So we in government, in Westminster and at the Senate, are matching private enterprise with public ambition. In just the last year, the Welsh Government invested nearly £2 billion into social housing, along with £800 million into new trains as part of the £1 billion commitment to rail connectivity, including £445 million at the spending review for Welsh Rail. And the UK and Welsh Government's commitment to work together with the private sector to develop exciting plans for Cardiff Parkway. At the spending review, I announced my intention to launch a new era of nuclear power right across Britain. That included backing for Sizewell C in Suffolk, and here in Wales, with its geography, its industrial heritage, its skilled workforce. Wales has a huge part to play. Just last month, the Prime Minister and I chose Wilfer to pioneer the UK's first small modular reactors in partnership with Rolls-Royce, backing this project with £2.5 billion of public funding. We want the UK to lead the global race in small modular reactors. And on this, Wales will lead the UK. This means a lot to me. Last month, I was at Wilfer with the Prime Minister, and I met a young man who was training at the college there. He told me that his father had been an engineer at the nuclear power station in Wilfer before it closed. But when the power plant closed, his father lost his job. That was a financial blow to the family, but it was also a blow to the pride of the whole community. And then the young man told me how proud his dad will be when he gets an apprenticeship, as he's determined to do, at the new small modular reactor power station at Wilfer, so that he, like generations before him, can be working at the vanguard of our energy industry. And what really struck me was this. That's the difference that investment makes. The kind of investment only possible when governments and private enterprise work together. The most significant industrial investment in North Wales in generations. During the construction phase, this project is expected to support as many as 3,000 jobs. And once those reactors are complete, it will provide enough energy to power the equivalent of 3 million homes. The energy to power every home in Wales twice over. That investment will build on the proud legacies of past industry. But we're doing more than that. We want Wales to lead in the industries unimaginable to past generations. Our new AI growth zones will capture the potential of this crucial future technology by offering lower energy prices, improved and rapid access to the grid, and accelerated planning approvals, so that businesses and investors can just crack on, unhindered by the usual thickets of red tape. Our 2 AI growth zones in North Wales and South Wales will be backed with £5 million each in investment to enable local AI adoption and skills, further driving local growth. This will establish North Wales as one of the world's leading locations for AI development, creating some 3,500 direct jobs as a result, while the South Wales AI growth zone will create more than 5,000 jobs over the next decade and build on exciting tech sector strengths to cement the UK's position as a global leader in AI. We want those jobs. We want the security of homegrown technologies. We want that new-built prosperity here in Wales. And this is our invitation to all of you. If you build here, if you work with us to build that future, then we as a government will back you. And to underpin all this, we are investing in Welsh innovation. That's why the UK and Welsh governments have given final approval to the Flintshire and Wrexham Investment Zone in North Wales, backed by £160 million over 10 years from government, and focusing on advanced manufacturing, connecting workers to more than 5.5 million square feet of manufacturing floor space. We've also awarded £30 million to the Cardiff City region as part of the Local Innovation Partnership Fund. We're investing £10 million into the semiconductor industry here in South Wales, and £4.2 million to help deliver the Harbourside Innovation District, using brownfield land to bring greater investment to the Celtic Freeport and surrounding area. All across Wales, Welsh firms will be supported to scale and commercialise cutting-edge technologies, with UK research and innovation providing £4 million a year to invest in academic entrepreneurs so that they can develop spin-out companies from their research at Welsh universities. Stability and public investment are only building blocks, because growth is not created at the Senedd or by the government in Westminster. It is built patiently and stubbornly by the founders that take risks on new ideas, by investors who put their faith in new companies, by the graft and commitment of the people who work every day to make those ideas a success. Our economic reform agenda is about unlocking all of that. At the budget, I announced a huge expansion of the enterprise incentives that we offer startups and scale-ups, so that more companies can offer tax-relieved share options through the Enterprise Management Initiative, and so that our enterprise investment and venture capital trust schemes back companies as they scale and grow, not just as they start out, and a new 3-year exemption from stamp duty reserve tax for companies choosing to list in Britain. While foreign direct investment has been dampened by global macroeconomic factors, the level of investment into Wales has actually increased by 23% year on year, with 65 new projects secured in 24-25, creating and safeguarding more than 4,000 jobs, the highest number anywhere in the UK. And in the years since this investment summit was announced, I'm pleased to be able to say that Wales has now attracted more than £16 billion of inward investment, as announced by the First Minister over the weekend. £600 million from Vodafone, bringing 5G coverage to an extra 2 million people. £19 million from GE Aerospace to modernise its global customer base. £42 million investment in 5 Welsh ports by the Association of British Ports, including a new deep water berth here in Newport. £200 million for RWE to build its largest battery energy storage facility in Pembroke, and hundreds of millions of pounds from ENI in carbon capture and storage on the site of the former colliery area at Point of Ayre in Flintshire, creating more than 1,000 jobs. I'm also delighted to welcome a £2 million investment from Bad Wolf, the creative team behind Doctor Who and his Dark Materials, that will crowd in £30 million of investment for the Welsh economy. And finally, I want to welcome Vantage Data Centre's £10 billion investment to transform the old Ford Bridge engine plant into a data centre and world-class campus to meet the demands of the AI revolution, creating over 5,000 jobs during construction and 1,500 highly skilled jobs in operations. A true vote of confidence in Wales as an AI powerhouse of the future. I believe in that proud and prosperous future for Wales, and I believe that together we can achieve it. If we reject the isolationist politics of national retreat, in whatever guise it comes, whether it seeks to cut off Wales from the rest of Britain, or to cut Britain off from the rest of the world. And if we choose instead the high road of national renewal, we can see the future that is waiting to be built right here. And this government is choosing investment, choosing to move forwards, choosing to back business and make working people better off. From clean energy to defence, advanced manufacturing to AI, I believe that Wales is ready for that future. Already, global businesses are choosing a future in Wales, investing, building and growing their businesses here. And they're right to do so. The First Minister, the Prime Minister, I and all of our colleagues stand ready to do our bit. A partnership ambitious for Wales's future and already delivering. Through investment in housing, investment in transport, investment in energy and investment in innovation. But this summit is not about government. It's about the Welsh entrepreneurs who start a business. The investors who see the potential of Wales and choose to place their money and their faith here. And it's about the Welsh people, their skill, their commitment, their talent, their hard graft to turn those beliefs into reality. Brick by brick, we are building for growth. Day by day, we are making the choices to guarantee stability, to push ahead with investment, to deliver the reform that businesses need to succeed. And step by step, that future is ours for the making, together. Thank you very much.
Today looks into the future, linking sustainability and finance together. Wales' commitment to sustainability is well known. There's the Wellbeing Future Generations Act, which is Welsh law, which is the first in the world, requiring public bodies to act in a way that improves the economic, environmental, social and cultural well-being of Wales. So embedding long-term sustainable development into policy implementation. So this session will look at that. Honorary Group Captain Sally Bridgeland is Chair of the Development Bank of Wales. She will lead this discussion. Sally is an experienced non-exec, winning the FTSE A-Med Award in 2023 for her work in impact asset management. She's also had specialist roles in pensions and investments. And she is going to introduce the other panel members as part of this session. Sally, and your panel.
some people have found out that I'm an actuary. Thankfully, I'm about a fiscal actuary, as Wales is a place for investment. And I do think that Wales is an amazing place to invest and get the heart behind the investment as well as getting the numbers right. And for me, I first read about the Wellbeing of Future Generations Act in an actuarial paper, which was basically saying that if only everybody thought like this, if only government strategic direction made it really clear where investments could be made, where there'd be the stability that we were talking about earlier, that would reduce so much of the risks and make it much easier to have the longer term impacts that we want to have. Development Bank of Wales, just a word about that for those of you that haven't heard of it, is the Eleanor Morgan at our celebration event on Monday, which was celebrating £1 billion having been invested in the Welsh economy and all of the businesses that she was talking about earlier. She described it as a jewel in the crown, which is a lovely way of describing us. The more direct way of saying we're the ones that understand money and finance and the way that the world of finance works. So our job is really to make that connection. On the green agenda, there's a whole variety of things that we do. And if anything, we do something for everyone, but not enough for anyone. So everybody that we're looking for wants us to be doing more. So part of our role is crowding in that extra finance, making sure that the businesses that start up can also scale up. On the green space, we invest, help businesses convert to more renewable energy. We invest with property developers to have more sustainable homes. We give loans to individual homeowners, and we also help communities with their renewable energy space. So again, an awful lot of broad things that we do to help. I'm going to ask the panel to introduce themselves better, because there's always things that they know about themselves that never goes down on the pages of the programme. And what I want to do is introduce yourself by sharing briefly what your organisation is currently investing in and where you think the biggest opportunities are or shifts in the capital investment landscape over the last 5 years. So I'm going to start with Brian, Green Investment.
Thank you so much, Sally. Diolch yn fawr iawn i Llywodraeth Cymru am y siawns i ddweud chyfeiriau pnawn. Thank you very much to the Welsh Government for the invitation to speak this afternoon. So, as Sally mentioned, I'm the Chief Executive of the Green Finance Institute. We're headquartered in London, although we have a footprint right across Europe, Asia, South America, and yet to have a GFI in Wales. So that's my ambition for the next year. What we do is we are now a team of 83 former bankers, asset managers, some policy experts. We work with governments around the world to advise them and large financial institutions on how we actually deploy more capital towards the climate positive, climate technologies, climate infrastructure and nature-based solutions that the science demands that we need to see funded. And we do that in a very, very practical way. So whilst we don't actually have our own balance sheet as yet, Sally, one of our flagship projects last year was I chaired the National Wealth Task Force working with the Chancellor to structure and then capitalise a £27.5 billion National Wealth Fund, focusing investing in infrastructure right across the UK. Currently co-chairing a similar project with the Mayor of London, where we're looking to raise £35 billion to invest in both decarbonisation and adaptation for the city, and importantly create a blueprint for how that can be replicated in other cities. And looking further afield, I'm just back from Belém, the UN COP conference, where I returned with a number of reflections and a head cold, which I'm sharing with you. You're very welcome. And there we presented the work that we've been doing with the Brazilian investment platform, identifying $20 billion of investment, primarily in hydrogen, green steel and other infrastructure projects. Be delighted to talk about any of those in more detail.
Brilliant. Now, Michelle from Copenhagen Infrastructure Partners, tell us more about you and what you do.
So Copenhagen Infrastructure Partners is a fund manager dedicated to investing in the energy transition. We do that globally, and we're the largest investor who's solely dedicated to this purpose. So we manage around 30 billion euros. We have 200 plus investors, some of the largest sovereign wealth funds, pension funds around the world invest in our funds. We invest globally across all technologies, wind, solar, offshore wind, batteries. And here in the UK, it has been a big market for us. For the last 12 years, we've been investing in the UK. Our first investment was in the UK. Currently, we are building 3 large battery projects up in Scotland, which are in total around £1 billion of investment. And here in Wales, we have 3 investments, one with Youth Energy, where we're developing around a dozen onshore wind projects. Then there's Green Gen Hungary, where we're